We made it to semester 2 final exam. A whole year of learning. Whew. Trauma. I'm a little sad. It's over. You guys were awesome, but we must say goodbye. Now, this exam, it's big, it's bold, it's 75 questions. 75 questions. Luckily, it's everything you learned this entire semester, and just a little bit. Just a little bit from first semester, not much. Let's get to it. Part 1, women's rights. First section of part 1 is a matching section with 4 women that I talked about in history. Alice Paul, Susan B. Anthony, Harriet Tubman, Deborah Sampson. Let's get to it. Alice Paul, force-fed. Remember she went on a hunger strike? They put that tube down her esophagus. All she wanted to do was have women the right to vote. And she gets force-fed in prison. Susan B. Anthony wrote the suffrage amendment. Pretty big stuff. Her ideas, her pen, her words is our 19th Amendment. Harriet Tubman, freedom fighter, Underground Railroad pioneer, was a general in the Civil War, a spy, a nurse. She was awesome. Deborah Sampson, dressed up like a dude, Revolutionary War, got shot twice, dug a bullet out of her leg by herself with a penknife. Pretty awesome. We got ourselves in the Middle Ages. We talked about Scold's Bridle. It's that device that men could make their wives wear if they were getting a little uppity, and they had to wear it in town. What was that thing we talked? Oh yeah, you remember there was that tax we talked about, and it still affects women today. It's called the pink tax. It's not an actual pink tax, but it refers to this idea that women's products, t-shirts, health and beauty products, pretty much anything, toys, are more expensive than boys' stuff. Weird, isn't it? Know that stuff for the women's unit when you come back. We're going to get to some amendments. I'll see you then. Fancy to see you here. Let's talk about amendments. You need to know amendments 16th through the 21st. And I took out number 20 because who cares about a lame duck? Am I right? Right? Am I right? Okay, it wasn't good a joke. But, we try our best here at the Snow Channel. So the 16th Amendment. This is what got Capone. Income tax. You got to pay it because if you don't, the IRS is going to put you behind those metal things we call prison bars. So, 16th Amendment. 17th Amendment. 17th Amendment. Vote for who? Senators. There you go. We all get 2. Each state gets 2, and we get to vote for them. 18th Amendment. You can't drink alcohol at 18. And the 18th Amendment said, no alcohol. 19, women can vote. And 21, when can you drink alcohol legally? Is on your 21st birthday. And the 21st Amendment says, yes, alcohol. When you come back, we'll be talking about the 1920s. I'll see you then. Part 3 of your test, 1920s. Now, the 1920s, we talked about a lot of stuff, right? We talked about alcohol because of Prohibition. We talked about Capone. So know a couple things. You need to know what you need to make wine. Obviously, you need sugar, but it's in the form of grapes. That's where you're getting your sugar, right? You need your yeast, right? Your water, you need your hops, but you need grapes to make wine. That's why it came from, bonjour, je m'appelle français. They had a lot of wine back in the day. Greece had a lot of wine. First cartoon was sound, Steamboat Willie. Remember that little cartoon you watched? That choo-choo, and then Steamboat Willie. What was Capone arrested for? It wasn't murder. It wasn't smuggling alcohol. It was tax evasion. Remember that, tax evasion. What did he die from? Well, syphilis of the brain. Well, complications with that. He actually hemorrhaged and stuff. Bad news bears, when you get a disease that eats your brain, you're going to suffer a lot of consequences. Who was known for the Teapot Dome scandal? Harding. And you need to know a whole lot about Hoover. What's a Hoover blanket? It's a newspaper. What's a Hoover shack? Or sorry, what's a Hooverville? Those are cardboard shacks that people live in. What's a Hoover flag? It's that outturned pocket because you got no money. And what's Hoover ball? It's the thing they play at the White House. We also played it inside our classroom. That's what you need to know about the 1920s. When you get back, it's World War II time. Part 4 is broken up into multiple parts. The first one is like just name the leader of the country. So, leader of Nazi Germany, Hitler. Leader of fascist Italy, Mussolini. Leader of Russia, Soviet Union, that'd be Stalin. Leader of the United States at the beginning of the war, that's FDR. Leader of the United States at the end of the war, that's Truman. Emperor of Japan, Hirohito. Military leader of Japan, Tojo. And the Prime Minister of England, that is the one and only Churchill. So that's your leaders. Now you're gonna have another section right after that. That's more like matched like the idea or like action or activity or event with that person. So it might say like who's the military commander that led troops to Sicily but also smacked a soldier. That'd be the one only Patton. Okay, you remember Patton smacked that soldier. He had PTSD, but back then PTSD wasn't really recognized. They would say things like shell shocked, but nobody really paid attention to that type of thing, right? Who was diagnosed with polio and also gave fireside chats? That was FDR. He did both of those things. Remember, polio was that disease, attacks your central nervous system. Fireside chats was those pep talks that gave Americans hope to get out of the Great Depression and also get out of World War II. Who did purges that killed millions? That's Stalin, man. He killed millions. Remember, he killed more people than Hitler did. Who were the leaders? Who was the leader of the black shirts? That's Mussolini's gang, right? That's Mussolini's group that went into Italy, took over their country, and made it the fascist Italy that will run in World War II. Who was leader of the brown church? Remember, Hitler wasn't exactly as inventive as Mussolini. That's his. Who dealt with hyperinflation? Hitler did. Matter of fact, hyperinflation was one of the reasons why people really followed him, because they were desperate. I'll come back with the not so much fun topic next. This next topic's not fun. It's part 5, and it's all about the Holocaust. Know what anti-Semitism is. That's the prejudice and discrimination done upon the Jewish population. Know about the Nuremberg laws, how those were laws that, you can't marry somebody if you're Jewish and they're not Jewish, and vice versa. They restricted them in the public schools. It kicked people out of civil service jobs if they were Jewish. It made them register. It did all those horrible things, right? Know about the ghettos, those locations where they shoved the Jewish population to isolate them, and then know where to get them to take them to the camps later. Know about the Star of David that was put on their chest to identify them from far away, and they could be executed or put on the trains to go to the death camps if they didn't wear those Stars of David. Know about Hitler's plan to eradicate all Jewish people from Europe. That was the final solution. And also know the gas that was used in most of the gas chambers of World War II, Zyklon B. That stuff was pretty messed up. Those blue pellets caused people to die. Bad news. Know all that stuff about the Holocaust, and you'll be good on this part of the test. Getting into the civil rights, also a rough section to talk about. We have who were the leaders in the movie Birth of a Nation. Remember the one that Woodrow Wilson thought was the bee's knees of movies back then? The heroes of that movie were the KKK. That's how racist that movie was, right? Which president said all those horrible things about people from Asia, also about black Americans, and also was the one that dropped the atomic bomb? That's Truman. Remember, we looked at his quotes, and they're not so much fun to look at. Know how many years the U.S. has been a country with direct institutional racism. That's slavery to Jim Crow to redlining to segregation and a whole bunch of other things where in the law books it said you can't do this based on your race, or you will be treated this way based on your race. We had institutional racism in our country for 192 years. That is 78% of our country's history. You're living in a very small sliver of time. Know about how many girls were killed at the Alabama church bombing. That was a total of 4. Those 4 girls ranged from 11 years old to 14 years old, and they died in a church because a racist organization planted bombs there to kill the black citizens who tended church there, and they killed girls. The age is 11, and 3 girls were 14 years of age. Know how old Emmett Till was when he died, 14. We talked about the devastation of how Emmett Till was killed. This was not something, it's one of probably the hardest things to learn about and teach at this age level, because that's the age that you guys are. So it hits a little bit closer to home. Know about if it was true or false if Emmett Till actually sexually assaulted that woman. It's false. He never did. She lied about that. He whistled at her, but then she went and told her husband and her husband's friend something else. And then she comes out later and says, yeah, no bueno. Know about the following laws about civil rights. Brown versus the Board of Education. Civil Rights Act of 1964. Loving versus Virginia. Federal Housing Act. Loving versus Virginia says you can marry outside your race. The Federal Housing Act of 1968 says no more redlining, none of that racist practices, right? The Brown versus Board of Education said separate is not equal, and it helps desegregate schools in the South, this ruling. And that law that was passed in 1964, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, changes the electoral map all the way up until today. So know all four of those. When you come back, we're talking Cold War, we're talking Middle East conflict. Okay, we're on part 7 of the test. Question 52 of 75. Now, part 7 is broken up into several sections because we're covering basically Eisenhower to Obama. That's how far we're going, right? So let's break these down. Part 7's first section is Eisenhower, JFK, and Lyndon B. Johnson. For Eisenhower, know that Sputnik was shot up in the air during his administration. Know that he ended the Korean War. For JFK, know that he was assassinated. And also remember the Cuban Missile Crisis that took place during his presidency. And for Lyndon B. Johnson, remember the Great Society, that package of legislation that's going to come out during his presidency that protects a whole bunch of civil liberties to a lot of people. That's part 1 of part 7. Part 2 of part 7 is Nixon, Ford, and Carter. For Nixon, make sure that you know about the Watergate Scandal, and also make sure you know about the person who he was the one that ended the Vietnam War. For Ford, know that he pardoned Nixon. This is going to damage his presidency. He won't be able to get away from this topic pretty much the rest of his presidency. And for Carter, remember the Iran hostage crisis, because that's the biggest thing that I want you to remember from his administration. Part 3 of part 7 of the test is about Reagan, George H.W. Bush, and Clinton. For Reagan, I would say make sure you know about the Iran-Contra scandal. For George H.W. Bush, the USSR breaks up during his administration. He raised taxes even though he said that he wasn't going to. And also know about Desert Storm. For Clinton, know that he was impeached. He's only one of 3 presidents that were impeached. It was Clinton, Johnson, and then Trump has 2 impeachments under his belt. He has a record on that. So know that. For the last part of the Cold War Middle East conflict, you need to know about Bush and Obama. You don't need to know everything. But for Bush, know about 9/11. Know about the 2008 recession. Know about the Iraq war begins. Know that the Afghanistan war begins, which is 20 years of war that will come out of that. Biden is the one that actually shuts that down, and there's some issues that came with that too. Know about, for Obama, gay marriage by the courts said that it was legalized in our country. Can't stop them. Know that under his administration that Osama bin Laden was executed for his crimes by a team that was sent in by Obama himself. Lots of stuff there for part 7. I'll be back with the last part in about 3, 2, and 1. Okay, part 8 of this of this test is all the oldies but the goodies. It's the ones you've had from the beginning. Some of them are put in there because students just miss the question because it was one of those questions I put on every test in first semester, and I promised it would be back. I'm not going to tell you what that question is, but I bet a lot of the people listening to this video right now are like, I already know the answer, Mr. Snow, and I got you. It's on there. It's for those people that were waiting for it. It's there for you. But I'm also going to ask you stuff that had to do with, tactics and stuff and battles and overall themes of history. I want you to know that transcend just this particular semester. For instance, Gettysburg. What was the battle tactics used? What was the battle formation that was used that gave the North an advantage? They used the fish hook because it protected their sides, right? It protected their flanks. So when you use the fishhook, all your flanks are covered. No one can get you from the side or from behind. That fishhook was crucial for their victory in the Civil War at the Battle of Gettysburg. But the idea of protecting one's flanks in warfare, absolutely crucial. The next thing is logistics. And I told you, it's the losers focus on strategy. Winners focus on logistics. And that's logistics. That's how getting your bullets, your beans, your men, your information to where they need to go in order to succeed in battle. So remember logistics. It's getting those materials where they need to be. I told you over and over again, history is not about what, it's not about when. That's why I don't ask you for any dates. It's not about where. It's even not about who. It is about why. And when I ask you in this test, what question should you be asking history? It's always why. Why did this occur? Because if we can identify that why, we can identify the steps that cause the atrocities of the planet. But we can also identify the steps that lead to the greatest things of humankind. So why is the question to ask? And finally, history is not about good guys and bad guys. It is about that one-word perspective. From the perspective of the quote-unquote bad guy, they think they're doing the right thing. From the perspective of the quote-unquote good guy, they think they're doing the right thing. To understand both perspectives is to understand history. That said, you're going to do fine in this test, and I'm going to miss you. Good luck.